Ah, the 90s. A magical time of slap bracelets, surge soda, frosted tips, Tamagotchis dying every 2 hours, and Saturday morning cartoons that hit harder than a blockbuster late fee. This was the decade that gave us The Fresh Prince, Jurassic Park, what they really want. It was a golden era where cartoons ruled the airwaves, and we were all glued to our TVs. But not every cartoon was a hit. Some shows crashed and burned faster than a dial-up connection during an AIM chat. And today we're diving headfirst into the 10 forgotten cartoons from the 90s that were huge flops. And trust me, some of these will make you say, wait, was that real? I want to lay out a challenge. I don't think you've heard of all the shows on the list. So here's what I want you to do. Comment down below and let me know if you've heard of 5 or more. Be honest, no cartoon cap here. Now let's get into it, because some of these cartoons were, well, traumatizing. Let's kick things off with Mega Babies, or as I like to call it, nightmare fuel for toddlers. This Canadian-American animated series followed 3 mutated crime-fighting babies with super strength and a disturbing amount of bodily fluids. This was during the time of the Y2K computer bug scare, Wayne Gretzky's induction into the Hall of Fame, and Tony Hawk landing the first 900. All this was going on, and every episode of Mega Babies had projectile snot, explosive poop, and some kind of goo.
Bed bugs! Big bed bugs! Oh, they must be hungry!
It was like Rugrats met Fear Factor in a blender, and then threw it up. The craziest part, it was co-created by Christian and Vaughn Tremblay, the same duo behind SWAT Cats, a legitimately awesome cartoon. Talk about a career detour. Next up, the Brothers Grunt. And yes, that's actually what it was called. You thought Beavis and Butthead were gross? These guys made them look like GQ models. Created by Danny Antonucci, the same guy who later redeemed himself with Ed, Edd and Eddy. This show looked like a mix of Ren and Stimpy, a bad fever dream, and someone who ate moldy cheese. Premiering in 1994, the same year poignant movies like Forrest Gump and The Lion King were released, this show was anything but that. The characters were shirtless, veiny bald dudes who made constant grunting noises and lactated?
6 stand before you tonight, their studies and meditations complete. What do you say? Are they in?
Like a lot. MTV tried to brand it as edgy, but audiences just said nope. Ready for something even more wild? One of the voice actors, Doug Priest, later voiced Keel Lorenz in the English dub of Neon Genesis Evangelion. Yep, from grunting freaks to psychological anime, Titanic still hadn't left the #1 box office slot, and the new show that sounds like a weird fever dream began, Fat Dog Mendoza. This was a UK-US co-production, featuring a giant round-talking dog who wore spandex and solved crimes with a kid named Little Costumed Buddy. It aired on Cartoon Network for a hot minute, and people were so confused they just stopped talking about it altogether. The animation looked like someone drew it during a sugar crash, and even the creators admitted they didn't fully know what the show was about. One of the voice actors, Jay Simon, later became a voiceover coach, possibly to help others avoid ending up in a show like this.
We were wondering about getting to the moon.
The moon? Old hat. No one goes there anymore but spies and aliens.
The kid needs some perspective.
Now here's one that's gonna shock you. Yes, Dumb and Dumber had an animated series. Why? Who knows, but it happened. A year after it hit the theaters, Coolio's Gangster's Paradise was on top of the charts, and Toy Story hit the theaters as the first fully 3D animated film. But somehow, someone thought it was a good idea to create a cartoon out of Dumb and Dumber, because nothing says cartoons for kids like toilet humor and adult-level idiocy. It ran for 13 episodes, trying to cash in on the Jim Carrey movie. But instead of Carrey, they got Matt Frewer, aka Max Headroom, to voice Lloyd. The show had a talking beaver named Kitty, for reasons I will never understand, and it completely missed the charm of the original film. Critics called it a crime against animation. Oof. Still props to Matt Frewer, who later voiced the Pink Goblin in the Incredible Hulk animated series. Man's got range. Remember the Pogs and slap bracelets? What about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and the first Home Alone movie?
Other than that, I'm in good shape.
Okay, well I bet you don't remember Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Yes, based on the cult B-movie from the 70s, a cartoon about evil tomatoes trying to take over the world. They somehow turned this into a kids show, and even more shocking, it had 2 seasons. Voice actor John Astin, best known as Gomez Adams, returned to voice Professor Putrid T. Gangrene. Honestly, his performance was great, but the show, not so much. It was corny, weird, and kids just didn't get it. Now let's think back to the time when the Backstreet Boys were launching their US invasion, and South Park had just debuted. In the middle of all this madness, Cartoon Network dropped one of the weirdest shows of the decade, Cow and Chicken. And if you remember this one, congrats, you've officially survived psychological warfare. Cow and Chicken was technically popular for a second, but let's be honest, it was bizarre and kind of a flop long term.
Just what do you see when you look at one of these beauty mags anyway?
Me?
A cow and a chicken born to human parents. A recurring villain called the Red Guy who always was naked from the waist down, and don't forget the infamous Buffalo Gals episode that got banned for being a little too on the nose with its lesbian stereotypes. Voice legend Charlie Adler voiced every main character, including Cow, Chicken, and the Red Guy. That's talent, wasted on jokes about pork butts and underpants. 1998 was a wild time. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone was just published in the US, The Matrix trailer was online, and TRL was dominating MTV. And then Warner Bros. Said, you know what this era of perfection needs? Let's ruin a classic. Enter Pinky, Elmira, and the Brain. Yup, they took your beloved world-dominating mouse duo and jammed them into a new series with Elmira from Tiny Toons, who basically turned the show into a loud babysitting nightmare. The original writers hated it. The theme song literally mocked the network executives for forcing the mashup.
Now Pinky and the Brain share a new domain. It's what the network wants. Why bother to complain?
Still, voice acting kings Maurice LaMarche, the Brain, and Rob Paulson, Pinky, gave it their all, and honestly, they crushed it. But no amount of vocal brilliance could save this chaotic mess. It somehow won an Emmy and still got canceled. Coming in hot with another Nickelodeon misfire, the Brothers Flub. This show was about 2 alien brothers, Guapo and Fraz, delivering packages across the universe. Sounds okay, right? Wrong. The animation was janky, the humor fell flat, and the voice acting felt phoned in. Even Nickelodeon quietly buried this one like a deep, dark secret. SpongeBob SquarePants debuted and left the Brothers Flub in the dust. Shocking twist, Guapo was voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, who voiced Rocco from Rocco's Modern Life, and Laszlo from Camp Laszlo. Yes, he's amazing. This show just was not.
I'm sure we have something to give her right here in this room.
But what? For the love of all that's flubbable, what?
If Gilligan's Island and Hey Arnold had an awkward baby, it would be Mike, Lou, and Og. Set on a remote island with weirdly British native islanders, it followed Mike, a city girl, Lou, a spoiled brat, and Og, a quiet genius. The premise sounded fun, but it didn't land. Do you think maybe it's because the Blair Witch Project had people scared of the woods during this time? Despite gorgeous animation, audiences found it slow, aimless, and kind of Here's the twist. Nancy Cartwright, yes, Bart Simpson, voiced Lou. You'd think that'd bring more attention, but nope, forgotten faster than your AOL password. Buffy the Vampire Slayer debuted on TV, Backstreet Boys released their debut album in the US. Seems like a great time, right? Well, a new show you probably forgot about tried to pay tribute to animation legend Tex Avery, but it ended up looking like a bootleg Looney Tunes DVD from a gas station. It crammed together random characters like Genghis and Canny and Freddy the Fly, and while it had some good slapstick, it was just too much.
You'd never catch me acting up at the table.
Ironically, Billy West, the voice of Fry from Futurama, and Ren and Stimpy was in this too. Dude has more iconic credits than anyone. This just wasn't one of them. Phew, so there you have it. 10 forgotten and kind of freaky cartoons from the 90s that flopped hard. How many of these did you actually remember? Comment below if you got 5 or more. And hey, if there's one I missed, drop it in the comments. I love dropping into this nostalgic weirdness. And before you go, here's a fun question. So which one of these cartoons would you reboot today if you had to? And how can you fix it? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next wild ride through TV history. Until next time, keep it nostalgic and keep it weird.